Let's jump right into this explainer and unpack Samsung's fascinating journey to absolutely conquer the wrist. If you track wearables at all, you know that trying to navigate Samsung's overlapping generations and specs can honestly feel like a bit of a maze. But today we're breaking the whole thing down: the hardware, the software, and the overarching strategy that took a simple timepiece and turned it into a literal connectivity powerhouse.
We've got a pretty clear roadmap for this explainer. We'll be hitting the Galaxy Watch origins, checking out the great OS pivot, diving into the expanding watch universe, and finally, looking at the evolution of their health tech.
All right, part 1, the Galaxy Watch origins.
So looking back from 2018 all the way to 2025, Samsung has just kept up this relentless pace of innovation. What started out as a single flagship model quickly splintered into the fitness-focused Active series by 2019. Then we hit the 4th generation with the Classic debut in 2021, the rugged Pro line rolling out in 2022, and by 2024, Samsung was basically attacking both ends of the market with the budget-friendly Fan Edition and the ultra-premium Ultra. But through all those models, there's one physical feature that became practically legendary.
And that is the iconic rotating bezel. Inherited from the older Gear S2, this physical ring gave you a deeply satisfying, incredibly tactile way to scroll through menus. It was essentially a high-tech fidget spinner that kept your fingers from smudging up that tiny screen. And even today, it remains the absolute signature touchpoint of the premium Classic line.
Moving right along to part 2, the great OS pivot.
For the first 3 generations, Samsung was proudly running its in-house operating system, Tizen. And it was fast, it was efficient, but let's be totally honest here, the third-party app ecosystem was basically a ghost town. To fix this, Samsung pulled off a massive pivot with the Watch 4. They walked away from standalone Tizen and actually forged an alliance with Google, fully adopting Wear OS.
But here's the cool part. Samsung didn't just passively adopt Google software. They entered into a real partnership to work together on Wear OS, bringing over the absolute best features from Tizen while keeping certain other features entirely exclusive. By layering their own One UI watch over Wear OS, you kept that familiar Samsung interface, but you finally gained access to the massive Google Play app ecosystem. It was a complete game changer.
Which brings us to part 3, expanding the watch universe. To make sense of this massive lineup, it really helps to break it down into 4 main pillars. First, you have the base or active models. These ditch the bezel entirely for a sleek, lightweight design aimed at mainstream fitness. Then you've got the Classic line, which is strictly for traditionalists who demand that premium rotating bezel. Step up from there and you hit the Pro and Ultra lines. These are your rugged, top-tier models loaded with GPX routing for hardcore outdoorsmen. And finally, the Fan Edition, or FE, which gives you premium touches like sapphire crystal glass, but at a much more budget-friendly price point.
Now looking closely, there are some pretty fascinating quirks in Samsung's strategy over the years. Like, did you know the sporty, active branding was actually dropped completely after Generation 2? Its sleek design just kind of became the default look for the base model. Also surprisingly, despite being the top-tier hardware, both the Watch 5 Pro and the Watch Ultra completely omit that famous rotating bezel. Plus, the 5th and 7th generations skipped a classic variant altogether. Oh, and that new Watch FE, it's actually a super clever recycling of the older Watch 4 architecture, just upgraded with that superior sapphire crystal.
590. Just take a second to appreciate that massive number. That's the battery capacity in milliamp hours for both the Watch 5 Pro and the Watch Ultra. To put that into perspective for you, earlier baseline models usually hovered somewhere around the 240 milliamp hour mark. So we're talking about a massive leap in hardware capabilities here. It's specifically engineered to support the heavy, multi-day usage demanded by serious outdoor adventurers who are just constantly pinging GPS satellites.
All right, let's wrap things up with part 4, the evolution of health tech.
It is wild to see how over time, Samsung has steadily stacked more and more complex sensors to turn these watches into vital health tools. Back in 2018, the foundation was just your basic movement tracking, accelerometer, gyroscope, that sort of thing. Step 2 brought in serious heart health with the Active 2, adding ECG and heart rate monitoring. But the giant leap? That happened with the Watch 4, which introduced blood oxygen, blood pressure, and bioelectrical impedance to actually measure your body composition. And then, the Watch 5 brought in a temperature sensor. They are literally peering deeper into human biology with every single generation.
And Samsung pairs those advanced sensors with some highly exclusive software features. Take GPX routing, for example. This allows users to download complex turn-by-turn trail maps right to their wrist, no phone required. By locking this feature exclusively to the Watch 5 Pro and Ultra models, Samsung is making a very clear play for serious hikers, proving beyond a doubt that these devices are built just as much for the wilderness as they are for the local gym.
So, we've watched this ecosystem evolve from basic step counters with clever physical bezels, through a massive operating system merger with Google, all the way to rugged GPX navigating titans with absolutely immense batteries. And it leaves us with a pretty fascinating thought. With the lineup rapidly evolving through 2025, how much closer can a smartwatch really get to replacing a dedicated medical clinic on your wrist? What groundbreaking tech is waiting right around the corner? Keep tracking those specs, folks, because the race for the ultimate wearable is clearly just getting started. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.